Tonight on Broadcast Now, we talk about starting where you're at, using what you have, and doing what you can. What does that mean? Tune in when Broadcast Now starts now. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Broadcast Now, the show that talks about everything that has to do with broadcasting. And you heard at the top of the show what we're going to be talking about. So I'm not going to bore you with any more of that. Let's get to our panelists here. We've got Mr. Marty McPadden from PodJam.tv. Welcome.
Steven, how are you today?
I am doing very well. I've been doing a lot of things in the studio, trying to get the network straightened out. I learned a few things this week that maybe we'll pass on in a future episode, but I'm doing well.
Excellent. Very good to hear. We're excited for tonight's show.
As always, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, the TV star, Mr. Greg Terry. Welcome.
Steven, nice to see you, buddy. And Marty, as always, my partner from up north. It's going to be good because tonight, I think this topic came about a month ago when I had to make a quick trip to Oklahoma City. And Steven was helping me make sure I could get my program rolling. And we talked about, just in a real matter-of-fact conversation, that when you don't have your big stuff in your studio, it reminded us of when we started out. And the only way you can start is start with what you have. And I had to do a live stream from my brother's house and literally had to use what I had. And it wasn't very much, but the result was good. So that kind of birthed and put this topic in the crock pot. We've been stewing on it for about a month. It's going to be fun.
And what the guys don't know is I'm probably going to throw some twists in here, and they may agree with me and they may disagree with me, which is going to make the show fun. Okay, so
it will be fun.
Let's kind of go there. So, as Greg was stating, you know, we always tell everybody to use what you have, and that is something that I think that everybody should do. But, okay, there's a big but. Let's start with this. At what point, guys, do you have to say to stop being comfortable behind your simplistic setup and try to take it to the next level? And the reason I'm asking that is because we see so many content creators out there, they all look the same. The look is the same. The feel of the show is the same. At what point do we sit back and we say, okay, you've learned this, now it's time to move on? Is there a place? Is there such a thing? Marty, is there?
Man, is that the... See, we didn't know this question was coming.
Oh, so I'm throwing it out there. I'm throwing it right
honey,
there.
I hear dinner's coming. I'm on the way.
There's no right or wrong answer, though. I want an opinion here, and same with you guys in the chat room. Feel free to throw it in there.
That's why I love these shows. We did a show similar, kind of like we were talking in pre-show, we're roundtabling, and we didn't necessarily prepare. We're just talking off the top of our heads here. We know the main topic, but that's definitely a curveball. But that's a very interesting question because we've talked about this in the past, using what you have, and don't let that stop you from getting started. I think one of the most important things you have to do is just get started. But then you raise a really interesting point because you could just stay stuck and you get real comfortable. I think comfort, if you're too comfortable, that's the enemy of creativity. And that's like, you have to, it's almost like, and I haven't, even what you almost have to be a little nervous. If you're not a little nervous, even now, I mean, although these shows, I'm not really all that nervous. We've been doing so long, but if you're doing something new, you almost have to be a little nervous. That means you're kind of on the edge, ready to go. Same thing goes for kind of upping your game as far as your production goes. So you get it down, you got the basics down. We talk a lot about that. I mean, the way maybe I would look at it is maybe look at one element at a time. So for example, say if you have say if you have no microphone at all and you're just using a webcam with the built-in mic and you want to add a mic, or maybe you get a USB mic first and you get used to that, something relatively expensive, and you get that down. Pick maybe one element and just improve that one thing, and think of it as, now this is not necessarily, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, especially if you want to do it for a long time. That's how I would approach it. I'm not sure if there's necessarily a time frame, but at one point when, like, if you're doing a very simple, if you're actually producing shows and it's going well, I mean, yeah, don't be afraid to up the ante there and add something to it,
Greg,
Well,
since I threw you a curveball,
You didn't
What do you
throw
think?
me a curveball. I mean, first of all, I want to completely disagree with Marty. And, he may not have prepared for this program, but on the flight last night back from Alabama, I wrote 2 full pages of notes. So I am
Oh,
fully
man.
prepared to discuss this program. Although this is a different topic from my other night, but I do have notes here and we're ready to go. Here's the deal. You run a fine line between getting better or being lazy. I think in a nutshell, that's what we can call it. So you start with what you have, you figure out if you're going to enjoy doing this, broadcasting, developing a community, whatever it may be. And then if you do, and you get some traction, then at that point, you have to start asking yourself, how can I get better? Because if you stay the same, the community you are building will get bored with it. I can tell you this. Thank you, Al. I'm always prepared. What's that? What's that? Always prepared. Oh, Boy Scout.
Boy Scouts,
Boy Scouts
yeah.
always
Yeah.
be
Yeah,
always be prepared.
always be prepared. So, but like, let me give you my personal story. In a quick nutshell, when the pandemic hit last year, you guys have to realize my life adjusted. I'm a 2 million miler on Delta Airlines. I've traveled the world since I was 21 years old, speaking, playing music, doing all that jazz. But when the global pandemic hit, of course, that adjusted everything. So at that point, the decision was made to go online, go virtual, do all this stuff, start a program, and just see what happened. Had no clue that today on October 14th, 2021, I'd be sitting here on Broadcast Now with Stephen Haywood and Marty McPadden, 2 legends. There's no way you could predict that. What I did was in late March 2020, I literally sat down with a computer, a webcam, and a Yeti Blue microphone. And that was it. That was the beginning. It was decent content, terrible production. Somehow, and Stephen, I don't really remember when, but you and I already knew each other and we were friends, but our relationship didn't blossom until that time. Something happened. You sent me a message, or
I think it was after your church did that in the park thing, and you kind of learned more about what I did.
okay,
That we started talking more about the live streaming side of it. You were telling me about how you had this broadcast, and
right.
you were like, "Yeah, I think things need to change."
Here's what you did. You said, I've watched your stuff, and this is not a quote, but it's pretty close. I've watched your stuff. I like your content. You've got talent to do this. You've got an audience building. Let me help you on the production side. And that's really where it all started. So honestly, I personally started with a webcam, a computer, and a microphone. And if I could roll you guys into my studio right now, you would be shocked. And I'm constantly growing, constantly trying to get better. Why? Let me answer that, and I'll throw it back to you, Stephen. There's 2 reasons I need to get better. Number 1 is because my community deserves it. I have a loyal following every Tuesday and Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that are there. So I can't get lazy. I've got to stay right on the edge. I've got to, and that's not edge meaning controversial. I mean, stay on the edge of getting better, better, better. And secondly, not only does my community deserve it, but please understand this the right way. I need to do it. I don't want to say I deserve it, but I want to say I need to do it, because as resources are available, as partnerships are made, as I increase the technology that I have access to, it makes my job as a communicator and a content creator easier. Literally, folks, 2 hours ago, I was installing central control in my studio, and we've had Joe DeMax here. So I called Steven. I said, Steven, I can't get this work. I've got an Akai.
Yeah, Akai. Yep.
Akai machine over here. I want to use that. I want to use it in conjunction with my Stream Deck. I want to network it over here to my encoding machine, all this jazz. And Steven called me. Folks, literally in 5 minutes, central control was running, connected to my vMix. And then Steven made this statement. Okay, listen now, be careful, because, you know, if you got all these shortcuts and activators built into vMix, when you start introducing central control, it may, you know, foul up or get a little goofy. So make sure you don't do this live. Folks, sorry, central control is already running. So
but wait, before you finish that, let's preference.
Do what?
Before you go on with that, let's preface this out. You already understand how activators and how shortcuts work. So you just need to understand how the software worked. It wasn't so much. But my caution always is to everybody: don't do it right before production, like I would do, and Marty would call me a sadist.
Well, I'm just giving content tonight. All I've got to do is shoot you a signal.
Sure.
You're producing. So it was a good place for me to try it. I don't have any production responsibility tonight other than to send you good camera and good audio. So, but my point being, your community deserves it. And as a broadcaster, I don't know the best word, maybe not deserve it, but you need, as resources are available, the stuff costs money and time's available, you need to make your job easier and your product better. That's it.
So I have a question then for you guys. So you often hear people say all the time, and Joe Zahadis in the chat room, hey, what's going on? You always see people say, well, content is king. It doesn't matter if I use a cell phone. It doesn't matter if I use a built-in microphone, because the cell phone microphones and cameras are really good. I know, Marty, you'll attest to that. I mean, it's good enough for what I need it for. Why should I step up my production game if it's good enough and I can get across my content? Why, Marty, would I want to do that?
Oh man, just to kind of put a cap on what Greg raised some really, really good points. We talk a lot about the content, and that's so important. You have to have something to say. The content's got to be there. And when you talked about the cell phone, I mean, this is an iPhone 13 Pro Max, latest model. These phones and this device if you're using this as your mobile device, you have almost, I mean, a cinema quality camera, and the mics on this are really, really good. So for run and gun, they're really good. I mean, if you know what you're doing with camera and all that stuff, and are aware of how the mics work, you can get some really good results. Now, why would you want to up your game? Now, if you haven't looked, I mean, this live streaming and creating content, it's really available to everybody. The barriers to entry are very, very low right now. I mean, I think, Greg, you were talking about when you first started, you had a webcam and a Yeti microphone, fairly low barriers there, and you just get online. Most people have the equipment in their house. If you have a laptop, you have what it takes. You can go live, and for free. So there's really no barrier anymore. As long as you have internet, there's no barrier anymore. But since everyone has it and the barriers to entry are low, there's a lot of content being produced. And we talked in pre-show how, people use these different services, and there are some shows that all look the same, and you want to differentiate yourself. And this is kind of part of it, is once you start, if you're starting from scratch, absolutely, you're going to take the simple approach. You want to get the fundamentals down. You want to know just how you present yourself on camera. If you have no experience, there's a lot of work to do there. But once you get to a certain point and you're building a show and you're starting to build some audience, and like Greg says, you kind of owe it to your audience, to really up your game. And that's what's going to separate yourself from others, I mean, because there's a lot of content out there. And I'm not saying that say if you do a show on, like, say if you're an Apple fan and you do a show on Apple, there's plenty of people in that niche, and people that like that content are going to watch all the shows. So that's not really the issue. The issue is, I mean, it's just showing respect for your audience, and also respect for yourself, and that you're striving, you're putting the effort in. The other thing is, it's so important, do you like doing this? And that's another reason why we say start with what you have, because the last thing you want to do is put all this money into equipment and all this effort if you really don't like what you're doing. I can tell with both Greg and Steven, whenever they're doing the shows, they really enjoy. And that's the reason why I do this show. I enjoy every week getting on here. It's kind of my outlet, and to do the show. I don't do a lot of live streaming. I do mostly production, but I enjoyed this, and that's why I do it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it. I know Greg does his shows because he likes to do it. He likes the subject matter. He likes to do it. Same thing with Steven. So if you're not enjoying it, chances are you're not going to be into upgrading your game. So, I mean, that's how I would look at it is, you want to kind of separate yourself. You would think you'd want to do that. I want to do that. Now, I keep promising to have this set. I know. And mainly because I'm just too busy. And we talked a little bit in pre-show about that's the one thing you have is time, and you only have 24 hours a day. So I try to at least have a clean picture, clean audio. My lighting is, pretty plain. But again, if you're doing this.
Fortunately, Marty, the bathtub is not in the screen. It's below the curtain. And I know right now that your tub is already drawn with nice warm water, and the bath salts are melting for 41 minutes will be off. And I can hear in the background your wife singing, "Rubber Ducky, it's so much fun. We're going to have bath time with everyone." I mean, listen, everybody wants to be like Marty McPadden. Let's face it.
Greg, can you talk?
Here,
can you
let
talk?
me dovetail, Steven. Steven, you said,
what
if a person
separates you?
says, "Okay, well, if content's king, I can just grab my cell phone and go."
Right.
Okay. If you get lucky, yes. If you're in a niche, yes. If you went viral by accident, yes. If you're building a community from scratch, no way. Content is king, but until you build a base community, you're not going to be very attractional, just trying to build an audience that way. And of course, that also depends on the niche. We're talking about more of a professional level stream information or whatever topic you're in. We're not talking about a TikTok audience.
No, and that's what I want to pause you right here, because I know where you're going to go here, and I want you to roll it into this.
Mhm.
You're doing a news program, just like a CNN, a Fox.
Mhm.
What differentiated you? And I'm pulling Marty out of the hot seat on this one so he can breathe a little bit. What separated you to make it fun, engaging for you doing your show? Even with the webcam and the microphone, what were the things that
Mhm.
you did to stand out to make people watch you?
Number one, I can entertain people.
Fact.
Number two, a couple of things that were birthed by accident. Number one, being a segment called The Beverage of the Night. And that was by accident. Today, shipped to my studio are 4 beverages from all over the country that people send them in for me to taste. That has become a part of the program. Third, Marty, you'll appreciate this. Stephen, you'll appreciate this. Here's the deal. I decided in my content that I did not want to alienate people. So I have a very diverse crowd. Okay. I try to respect everybody's opinion. So when we're looking at world events, US events, I don't just it's not Fox or C. I'm not trying to duplicate those guys. I'm trying to be me and trying to give 48, 49-year-old perspective, born in 1972, speak Russian fluently. I understand communism. I understand socialism. My favorite president's Ronald Reagan. I watched the Challenger blow up. I was there for 9/11. We see an entire narrative. I can appreciate different things that different leaders have done, and all of them. So what I try to do is cut out the conspiracy theory, cut out the trash, cut out from wherever it's coming from. I don't worry about right, left, or middle. I'm just basically hunting for truth. So what that has allowed me to do over time, compounded, is build a community and an audience that is not an echo chamber, but is willing to look at things from all sides. So that has developed as kind of my little wheelhouse there.
So, Marty, you work with a lot of clients, and I know I'm going to throw this to you here in a second. You tell client comes in and says, hey, I want to do a podcast or I want to do a live stream. And you say, hey, that's great. Use what you have, start out with what you have. They grab their phone, maybe they have, or a laptop with a USB microphone, and they start going, and you're just like, oh my goodness, no amount of gear in the world is going to save this person and make them a content creator. They're just awful. I can't listen to them. I don't know how they're paying you to produce them. Do you continue encouraging them to do their content? Do you see the potential? Or do you try to sway them a little bit? I know it's a job. It's you're getting paid to do this.
Well, for me, pretty much all the clients I work with are B2B type of clients who have businesses, and the content that we produce is really promoting their business, so they almost have to do it. So it's a little bit different. Like you're probably referring more to if I was working with a client who maybe had
this is hypothetical. I'm not bringing any of your clients into it. I'm saying because you do this as a business, somebody comes to you. Yeah, no, I wouldn't ask you to speak on any clients. Somebody, let's say I come to you. Let's do it this way. I have no skill. I can't even talk. I'm dry as a bone to listen to. But I want to hire you to pay, let's say, and again, these aren't Marty's prices. I'm just throwing it out. $200 a show to do a half an hour podcast or a vodcast where you're doing a single camera, maybe a little bit of graphics, and I'm taking phone calls, whatever. What do you do in that situation? I'm using bare bones stuff. I'm using what I have, just like we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I would certainly be as honest as they want me to be. I think one of the things I've learned, and Stephen, we've run into this doing shows in the past. That involves giving advice, and even with clients now. I mean, I can work at any level you want to work at. The thing is, though, you have to be willing to work at that same level. I can meet you where you want to be. And again, I've worked with people that just want it down and dirty and have different goals. You know, I work with some clients that just need, maybe a particular show or on a very tight schedule. They just need it to get out there. And we have a certain workflow for that. And we'll sacrifice a little quality because of the time nature of the content. Other ones that we do a much more higher level production because that's kind of where we're meeting at. I would say if someone's starting out, I would be very honest with them, and I say we can work at any level, and I would kind of read the room as far as their ability and overall, and I did this with Mark Rogers. Overall, what I would ask is, and I've asked this question many times, would you do this for free? Is this something that you're really passionate about? Is something you would do normally, even if there was no recording and no podcast? Like in Mark's case, he's a big college football fan. He'd be watching the games anyways. Now he had the ability to create content around that, and he'd be doing it anyways. And, he's been doing it 10 years. If someone's getting into it, that's what I would read is like, are you really, is this something that's really excites you? Is this something you really, versus, and I've seen people do this, versus producing a show because you think the topic is trendy, but you're not really into it. And that's a recipe for failure because you're not going to stick long with it. It's going to be a job to you, and you're not going to stick with it long enough to make it a success. So that's what I would do, and I would be honest with them with that. Now, if they still want to do it and they're paying me, I obviously have a business, but they also have to be open to the feedback. And I would say this to anybody out there: if you're thinking about doing a show, and if you can, if you have no knowledge and you're just trying to learn from scratch, seeking out getting a mentor. You have to be able to take that feedback. Hopefully the mentor is giving you good, honest feedback, and it's not personal. It's really about helping you get better. It's like having a coach. Some people are good with that, and some people aren't. And I've seen both ways. And in my business, because it's a business, I work with clients. I give suggestions, and sometimes they want to do it. Sometimes they see it maybe too much work. That's okay. And they're still paying me. We're still getting the job done. And I'm here. I'm ready to go whenever you want to, take it to the next level. It's kind of that, so it's the willingness on the person's part to want to do it.
Greg, I know you want to dovetail off of this, but think about this too and go into this is the person now also their main motive of doing this is to be famous.
Really?
Oh, I'm throwing tough ones at you guys tonight, man. I'm serious. This is.
First of all, let's say this: Marty McPadden is the most wonderful, polite, kind person I know. But let's just be honest. If you don't have a talent for this, it's not happening.
Fact.
You could put Jesus in the room with you, and only he would be successful, not you. I'm sorry. Now, Joe, let's say Joe Zahidis comes to you. He wrote in the chat.
Yeah, I'll pull that back up.
Joe's a winner. But let me just say something. Okay. There's a difference here, and I see two different folks here. So like I see and I'm sorry, Alfredo, if I mess your name up, but Alfredo Tegolo.
Yep, that's.
And I see Joe Zahidis. So I know Joe. Joe's been on a program with us, and Joe did a great job. He's got a great setup. He does the radio stuff. Beautiful. He's in his niche. He also has other businesses, and Stephen and Marty told me all about Joe, and then I met him. But then I read a message here from like Alfredo, and he's talking about how Marty advised him. So there's your mentorship Marty was talking about, to upgrade technology, get better at presenting your content. Marty advised me to use OBS, Inglewood Southside Christian Church, and talks about the streaming system, then the upgrade to vMix. Okay, so you've got different things going here. You've got like, a church production, or Marty's talking about a lot of his stuff is B2B, business or certain niches that have certain groups they're looking to get their information or their technology or their stream to. That's a whole different ballpark than John Doe, or Jane Doe, who wants to and has a passion to become as you called it, Stephen, a famous streamer.
Mhm.
If you do not have the talent, the commitment, the backbone to do it, go watch reruns of Seinfeld. You'll get a whole lot better enjoyment out of life, because this is very hard work. Very. Last night, Tuesday night, I got up at 4 a.m. in Pennsylvania, caught a flight out of Pittsburgh, down through Atlanta, into Birmingham. Tuesday night at 8:30, I've got a lot of people waiting on me, plus a network waiting on me to get my stream to. So even though I'm on a trip, I've made a personal commitment to this community. I took a full mini studio with me to Alabama. I'm down there for a funeral, but at 8:30, 7:30 Central, I was rolling live straight from my hotel room. People enjoyed it because I was committed to the process. And honestly, if you want to get famous, your desires are out of order. Your journey is looking at the wrong destination. So what you really want to do, and this may sound cliche, but so be it. You want to be the best you can be. You want to provide the best content you can provide. You want to give the best production you can do. You want to be a part of groups like this Broadcast Now, where we're going to bring industry professionals in. We're going to talk about where the rubber really meets the road and what it really takes to be successful. So if your goal is to be famous, it's not going to happen. But if your goal is to make a difference, build a community, then all things are possible. All things at that moment. It only takes one person. It takes one person. So I'm in Alabama Tuesday night, made the commitment. I'm in my hotel. I'm streaming. The program's over. And then I get a text message from Integrity Television, where I'm on right now. And the message was, hey, bro, congratulations. We just got picked up by a cable network. Bam. I'm not looking for it. I'm just doing what I enjoy doing and do it the best I can. It's my best advice, bar none.
Stephen, before I'm glad I want to dovetail off of what Greg said. Greg had some really good points there. But the thing about the famous part, and Greg, you made some really good points there. But if you're going out there and your ultimate goal is from day one is I want to become a famous streamer, chances are and again, I'm repeating what Greg said, chances are you're not going to make it. It's just like you're putting the cart before the horse. There's like, what kind of goal? That makes no sense to me. It's like,
Marty, I'm sorry to jump on you, but Not only that, let's talk. I know this is a broadcast show and a broadcast program and technology and all of your background, but if you are a streamer or a content creator and your goal is to be famous, then you have a personal issue. And the personal issue is you don't have enough confidence in yourself and enough personal self-worth to say, I am somebody, I'm worth something, my message is worth something, no matter if I have one viewer or 1 million viewers. Once you get to that point where you have a self-confidence in yourself, The folks that are looking to get famous, they got internal problems because they're looking for that, that pat on the back from a community that ultimately is not going to care about you at all. So I know we're bridging to a different topic, but it's all connected because it comes down to the person of who you are and why you're doing what you do.
It's like doing it in the right order. I mean,
correct.
I've heard this. I heard this piece of advice from Gary Vaynerchuk. He, for those of you who don't know him, he's very big in the business world. I talked about him in the past. One of the things that when he first got into doing video or live videos, one of the pieces of advice I thought rang really true was he started doing these wine shows, and he goes, "I just put my head down for like first 2 years. I didn't look at any analytics, nothing. I love wine. I love working for my father's wine business. I want to grow it. I love business. I love doing it. Love talking about it. I don't care about that. That'll follow." And that's the thing. If you really love what you're doing, that you should be doing because you love it. I ask that of everybody I work with. Do you love it? Because if you do, you're gonna do it for a long enough time. Don't worry about it. And we talked about this in the past show. That's why it's important to be yourself. Attracting versus putting on a performance.
Yep.
You'll attract. There's an audience for you out there, and you're much better off at putting it out there and attracting than trying to go somewhere you're not really comfortable. Attract. Don't worry about the numbers. The numbers will follow. If you're authentic, they will follow. Now you have to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a while, and that's the good thing, because if you're just starting out, you're probably going to be talking to nobody in the beginning. No big deal, because you love what you do, and eventually things start to click. And Greg, you said the magic word. You just need one person. One person sees it, right? They pass it along. It's like one of the analogies I like to use is ripples in a pond. You throw a pebble in a pond. In the very beginning, you can't even see the circle, especially if you throw it way out there in a lake. You can't really see it. It takes a while to see the concentric circles coming out. By the time you see it, it's like, oh wow, it's really big. Oh, look at this, it's really big. But that takes a while. That's why you have to really love what you do. And don't worry about being famous. You will, obviously by building an audience, you will get there. But it's like, man, it's like almost like, Steven, we joke about, if you have to put influencer in your bio, you're probably not it.
Yeah.
Why, it's like, what do I have to tell people about influence? It's like they tell you that you influence them.
Well, and and here's the thing, like, I must have done it backwards, because I didn't go into this looking to get famous. I got into doing this because I wanted to break into the industry. I wanted a job in the industry. That was my, obviously I wanted to help people. That was your
why.
But that was my why. But also, I wanted to show people what could be done with video by myself. That, to me, challenges anything that anybody. That gives me such a rush, such a high. Like, it's great for people to come in here, like, we get, I'd rather have 10 people in here that are communicating, that really want to learn what we have to say, than 1,000 people in here that really couldn't give a rip, and they're just going off on whatever in the chat room. I want to try to put out the best content that I possibly can, and so but I've heard it though, and guys, we're going to take a quick break. But again, start with what you have, but you also, it's not just the gear. We talk about the gear. Everybody wants to talk about the gear. Start with what you have up here. You might not have the know-how for all this gear. You got to start with what you have. Think about that. We're going to come right back right after this.
This episode is sponsored in part by PTZ Optics. Why hire a camera operator when the control is in your hands? Visit ptzoptics.com for more information. And by NewTek, makers of the TriCaster TC1. Stun your viewers, not your accountant. Visit newtek.com for more information.
Oh, guys, I know. I'm sorry, Brad. Brad's going to shoot me. I forgot the Pizza Joe's commercial. I do
I
apologize.
told
but
him, Brad. I told him.
They told me
Brad, don't
during the
blame us,
break.
Brad.
Yeah, Julia Sherwin, great to see you here. Yes, it's great that you could tune in and check us out. Guys, before the break, we were talking about, everybody wants the gear and use what you have. But I made a statement about using what you have, for those listening on the radio, what you have up here. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. I'm not saying that to put you down. A lot of you guys have ideas up here of what you want to do. And I think Marty and Greg, both of you guys have made examples to network with people. You've stated that if you don't have it up here to network with people, what about that? Greg, let's start with you. Using what you have up here.
We gave the obvious example earlier, and for those just joining us, I just initiated central control 2 hours ago, but I'm not producing tonight, and Steven told me, don't be running it. But,
hey, I was playing it smart, okay?
But but here's the deal. I went to the source, I started with Joe DeMax, who invented it, and he told me that my equipment would work. And then when I was setting it up, I kind of got stuck. So I just called Steven, and literally in 5 minutes, he had me rolling. And that's all I needed, because I had enough of the rest up here to figure it out myself, and we got it cooking. So that networking is available. I would like to add one piece before we throw it to Marty. Because Steven, you made a great point. You can have all the stuff in the world or use what you have, and all the different phrases we're using tonight, but the most important thing you have is what's up here. I would like to maybe suggest tonight that is vitally important, what you have up here. But I'm going to tell you something else that's important, and this is not just a broadcast lesson, but this is a life lesson. What you have in here, in your heart, and Marty, you're from ESPN. It's the cliche of the world. Okay, they want it because they've got heart. They've got heart. They won't give up. They won't quit. Yes, they've got the talent, which is in the brain, but they've got that it, which is in the heart. The story is told. My favorite athlete is Michael Jordan. And, he got cut from his high school basketball team when he was in the 9th grade. He never gave up. And, of course, he became the greatest basketball player that has ever lived. LeBron James couldn't even carry his jock strap, let's just be honest. So Michael tells the story. I watch everything from Michael. I love Michael Jordan. But here's what Michael says. Everybody always celebrates my victories, and they always see the game-winning shots. But I'm the one that's counting every shot that I missed and the hours that I was standing in a gym with a lamp on shooting free throws when nobody told me I could make it. That, my friends, is heart. So when you have a heart for something and then you combo it with the brain, with that desire, that's an unstoppable combination.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of dovetails. Again, we should keep it like
we,
a dovetails.
we need to trademark that.
They are in here with the hashtag.
I have to go with dovetails, but it does dovetail with what Greg said. But the heart, I think that's an excellent point, because up here is the brains. It's kind of technical. You have to have that. Yeah, you want to work on your skills, but if you don't have it here, you're not going to do it long enough to really make something out of it, and that's what goes back to when I ask folks to really, I keep throwing Mark Rogers as an example because he's done so well. He's been on this journey for 10 years. Now he's doing YouTube full time. I see is what he's doing. He's finally starting. It's the hockey stick is starting. We kid around and all the time with him. Hockey stick is starting, but it's taken a decade. And he loves it. He's passionate about it. He's got heart for college football, and that's why he's stuck with it for a decade, gone full time, and now it's starting to go up, and now he's starting to reap the rewards from it, and he still loves it. he'd be doing it regardless, right? But the heart thing that's why, again, you got to love it. And if you love it, you're much more likely to want to, like the Michael Jordan story, I think is excellent, Greg. You're much more likely to put the work in because that's what it takes. Like nobody sees. I talk a lot about when I'm doing productions a 90-10 rule, right? What you're seeing here is 10% of what we do or what anybody does. I'll speak for Steven because we, like Greg, we just show up and we make sure our camera's good. Our mic good. Steven's doing all the wizardry backstage. He's doing all the production. He's got everything on his shoulders. He's doing the 90%. If I work with clients, I'm doing 90%, but it's that 90%, all that work, all those free throws, all that practice, that the 10% looks really good. And then right. People think, oh, it's like, it looks so easy. It's a 10%. No, folks, it's that 90. It's like again, I love the Michael Jordan story. It's so true. It rings true in everything. It's like, that's why if you really love it, hopefully you're willing to put the work in, put your head down and do it. And if you really like it, you're going to enjoy the journey. That's another thing. It's like, don't worry about the destination. Hopefully you never get to the destination. It's like, enjoy the journey part. That's why you do it. That's why also you want to incrementally improve because you're enjoying the journey. You're enjoying adding this, getting this improved. Like Greg, I think you said it very well. Always looking for that constant improvement. It's not like everything all at once. It's this slow little improvement. And then like your experience with the different things you've been able to do with your shows and the platforms you've been able to get, that's because you put the work in. I mean, nobody sees when you're doing the pre-prod, right? I mean, but they see on the show. It doesn't happen by magic because put the work, but you don't talk about it. You just do your thing, but you put all that work in.
Here's how you know when you're starting to have some success. You finish a stream, and for me, and we're trying to do it with Broadcast Now. We're trying to keep it to 60-0 flat. Okay, so for Broadcast Now, we're in our window. But for me, on Tuesdays and Fridays, I'm forced to be on the clock due to syndication. And honestly, I played baseball through school, athletics, professional musician. I've had lots of things where a lot of energy going. But when I nail it, and that clock hits 0 and my outro is rolling, I feel like I just hit a grand slam in the World Series. Secondly, here's another way that I think is a good indicator that you're making some strides to get better using what you have. I have discovered that my program is live on Tuesdays and Fridays at 8:30 Eastern. And on those days and there have been 4 or 5 occasions where, why are you making me laugh with that name?
I was just pulling up comments.
That's all he's doing.
Go ahead.
It's a good thing I can fragment my mind and deal with it. I can multitask, no problem. But here's the deal. On the 4 or 5 occasions where my program has went live right after something major happened in the news, major. When I roll in on those nights, those have been the nights where, if we look at analytics, my numbers have been the largest. And as I'm doing my pre-roll in, countdown in, all the social media's going, the community's chatting back and forth, they will say something like this: "Oh, hurry up," because they call me PG or Barney, whatever. "Come on, PG, get in here. We need to understand what just happened 2 hours ago." And I knew at that point that I'd built a community, starting with what I had, but then I had a community that was depending on me. And at that point, I understood that I have to work to get better. And as Marty was saying, step by step by step by step. Have the brain, have the heart, have the passion. What you folks don't realize, we mention it sometimes, but our pre-call for this program is 5:30, and that's Eastern. So let me tell you, we respect that. I mean, Marty's a pro. I can hold my own. Steven's a pro. Could we roll in at 5 minutes till 6 and pull this off? No question we could.
Only if you want to give me a
But
heart
we
attack.
don't. We respect ourselves. We respect Steven's production. We respect our community. And we allow that 30 minutes to gel our conversation. We've already been talking about the topic days before. We're prepared. But we take everything we do serious. And the reason we do that on a Thursday night at 5:30 Eastern is because we have a passion for it and we enjoy building this community. That's what we have to turn over to all of our individual works and communities.
And 100%. It's Marty said it. 90%, 90-10 rule. I'm usually starting around 4:30, getting things fired up, making sure there's no unexpected updates. Even though vMix's update's been staring me in the face for the last 2 hours,
too.
I refuse. vMix has been good, don't get me wrong, but it's a muscle memory thing, and I think these guys would agree to it. They know at 5:30, and for the most part, unless Marty has a client that he's working with, 5:30 on the dot. And I mean on the dot. These guys are here. Not by my. That's how much respect that they have to be here, and what we want to do, even for again, because we're rebuilding the show. The show's been off the air for 5 years. But it has such a high episode level. If you go back and watch, we've had different co-hosts. We're rebuilding the community, trying to be consistent, trying to work with what we have. And we're doing this, right? So I was talking to Greg. Greg came up with this, like I think he said almost a month ago. We didn't want this to be scripted. I prepared a few things as far as direction I thought to take this, but I wanted their honest reaction to these questions today, as I was telling them during the break, because I think there's something in transparency, and I think there's something with being completely transparent with everybody. I don't know how else to say that, but one of the things I do want to, I want to touch. We can't go a whole show without giving you guys some gear, okay? We talked about starting with what you have. You got to have something, right? You all have a cell phone. Marty brought that up. I happened to find this week for $34, and I don't have an affiliate link, so don't, I can put this link in the chat room. It's a 12-inch ring light. You can do a warm, or you can do a bright hyper white. $33 gets you a little remote control that I believe you can hit the record button with. I didn't look at it too in depth, but you have color temperature. You can get streaming for $34. Okay. The other thing I would invite you, I'm going to go out of my full screen mode here. I would invite you to go to my Amazon channel, and I'm not doing this to make money off of people, but I get asked all the time about equipment that I recommend. If you go to, I think it's Amazon.com/shop/thetechbuzz, you can find just about a lot of the gear that I use in my studio. Anything that Amazon sells, let me just say it that way. You can look at different things in here, and if you have questions on things like this, you can ask me, and I think Marty has some of this, Greg has some of this equipment as well. So I do this because I put it all in one place because people ask me all the time. This LED light down here, this rope light, if I did an affiliate link back when people asked me, I'd have $1,000 because people ask me all the time. So I put it in there for you guys so you guys can see whether you buy it through my affiliate link or you just copy and paste it. And, I don't really care. It's more or less a catalog that you guys can go see the gear. But $33, guys, you can start out using this, and you can go live. and get your message out there. But you have to be able to grow with it. I think that you owe your audience, you owe yourself, that as you get better, your presentation should get better. You should stand out from the crowd. You should stand out from others that are doing it, and ask yourself the question, what makes me different than the next guy that's doing this, that people want to watch me?
Well, I'm just so inspired.
You look
I'm-
inspired.
Well, I am, because I've seen this journey happen, and I just want to encourage folks out there. There's been a lot of good actual messages in the chats tonight. Start with what you have, but strive to get better, and it'll happen. I'm telling you, it'll happen. Stephen was showing his stuff. I'd like to show my stuff, my affiliate link. This is from the dollar store, and this is my new lighting. So it's really nice. It's LED. It's also adjustable with the zoom and the ring light. And
That's your hunting light, isn't it?
Lights off.
That's
I
fancy.
can then come in with this, and for $1, if you are really wanting to expand the budget, you could buy 2 and then have the shadow lights. So listen, for $1 at the dollar store, you are set up. Little string, little bit of clothespins, and you can have an entire row of lighting. So that's my affiliate, Dollar Tree.
But that's a good point that you bring that up, because
Dude, that didn't look that bad.
it didn't look bad, but it does go to show you, like, buying something cheap doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good. Just saying.
One thing I can't add anything to what Greg said. I mean, I think he hit the pinnacle for evening with that $1 at the dollar store. I don't. I mean,
Lindsay agrees.
Right? I know, right? Lindsay, you're absolutely right. But I will say the ring light idea is great. I mean, if we're talking about what you have, a lot of people have this already. A ring light, very low cost. And the other thing is not only low cost, but it's very easy to set up. You just put the phone in the middle. You get what the ring light does is nice even light with one light. So if you're just starting versus doing a fancy lighting setup, and you can get there. But yeah, that's a great suggestion. I would, if you wanted to, that's all you need, the microphone here, and that gets you started. And you have decent lighting no matter where you are.
Well, I
Hey,
think,
Stephen,
yeah,
answer Juliet's question. It's a really good question, and I don't want to miss it.
I must have
I'm always
missed
trying
it.
to monitor the chat. I know
Let me
you saw
see
it.
here, because I was
Hey
switching
guys, great
something.
to connect. Marty, nice to see you. Not sure if this is valid in the discussion. Sure it is. But is Facebook Live still as strong as it once was, or is posting to YouTube with pre-recorded videos still stronger in growing an audience? It seems like Facebook Lives are lost in the sea, and nobody wants to deal with it anymore. That was a good question. So,
That is a good
I
question.
worked with, just a full disclosure, I've worked with Juliet in the past.
Okay.
Client, I've helped her with things. But yeah, Juliet, great to see you here. Can I take this real
Go
quick?
for it, man. Take it.
I think there are multiple platforms. I'm a big YouTube fan. I'm a convert. I believe in YouTube. I think it's really the 21st century TV. In fact, I love it so much. I have YouTube Premium. I never thought I'd pay to get rid of commercials, but it's a game changer. But I'll tell you, I think there are some tremendous content in all kinds of niches going on, and there's some people doing high level content there. So that's where you want to be, no question. I see YouTube and Facebook's really different. I think Facebook can be good if you have a following on Facebook. It could be good to get the message out, and maybe an introduction. I guess it all depends where your audience is. I think there are people out there that can stream to Facebook if you have a large page and your audience is there. I'm partial to YouTube only because I think it's a better search engine. It's just a better experience for me versus YouTube. I wish that LinkedIn would get better. Frankly, there's so many different platforms.
I do multiples, so maybe I throw this in here to help you. What I have learned is, I work to grow my YouTube, but my Facebook rolls. And here's why. Demographics. So there's certain demographics that it's easier for them to use Facebook. Get the notification, they hit the little button, they're watching your program. But then the different demographic, and I'm speaking really about generations and ages, much more comfortable with YouTube. So as a content creator, I would suggest use both.
And on that note, we are going to have to wrap up because we are on Basix Radio. If you guys want to check it out, basixbroadcasting.com, BASIX. You guys can download the app. If you missed the show, you can always listen to us on the road. And we appreciate those guys having us on over there at Basix Radio. So, guys, check that out. But, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Greg Terry, youtube.com/The Greg Terry Experience. Thank you so much.
Stephen. Awesome night. Thank you, Marty. Enjoyed it very much.
Also, ladies and gentlemen, from podjam.tv, Mr. Marty McPadden. If you need some video editing, podcasting, producing, even video, check him out. Podjam.tv.
Thank you, Stephen and Greg. Great as always. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, and guys, I just want to remind everybody, I am going to be hunting next week. I took 1 week off. I usually try to take it off once a year to go hunting. So that's something I like to do. That's one of my passions. So next week there won't be a show. We'll be back the following Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel. And if you guys think of any topics that you want us to cover, please let us know. We're happy to cover them.
I think the next topic should be about the ethical treatment of animals, you crazy hunter.
Says the guy that also hunts. So, guys, we really appreciate you coming out and taking the time with us. We shall see you guys in 2 weeks. I really appreciate it. And until next time, keep it buzzing.